Okay, finally, the last type of problems again will be of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. But here a will not equal 1 or negative 1. The other two types, type 2 and type 3, where we had a negative 1, type 2 where we had a positive 1, those all involved a leading coefficient of 1. This is going to, these problems will involve a leading coefficient whose value is not 1. It takes a little more work to do these. There's two approaches. I'll show you one approach now, and then I'll show you another approach called factor by grouping. Actually, when we get a little more practice factoring trinomials under our belt. So here we go. So here I have an example. So let's say here I have a trinomial. The leading coefficient is not 1. 2x squared plus x minus 3. Okay, so what makes this problem a little more challenging, a little more work, is again, our leading coefficient is not 1. But the way we approach this problem, and again, this is where it's important to keep FOILing in mind. FOIL, so remember first, outside, inside, last. And what we're going to use here to help us do this is we're going to focus in on the O and the I multiplications. So the way we go about this, we first have to list all of our factors of 2x squared. Okay? And they are, so 2x squared. So I have 2x and x. Now those are the only pair of factors for 2x squared, which will give me 2x squared. And then I have to list factors of this last term, negative 3. Okay, so here, negative 3. So a couple possibilities. I have a negative 1 and 3, or I have a 1 and negative 3. Those are the only factors of negative 3. There's no more. And so what I want to do is I want to take this pair of factors, 2x times x, and multiply it by a pair of factors associated with negative 3, like this one here, or if not that one, then maybe this one here. And I want to get to my middle term, which is going to be a positive 1, positive 1x. So here we go, just a little more work. So I'm going to start with those two factors first. All right, and so here, let's do this. And so, and again, this will give us our outside terms, inside term, OI. All right, so here we go. So here's a couple possibilities. I can take 2x times a negative 1. So 2x times negative 1, and then I can take x times 3. So plus x times 3. Okay, so I'm multiplying those two pair factors together. Well, let's see here what I get. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x, and then 3 times x is plus 3x. Okay, and so I think that is going to give it to me, because when I add these two terms, I get a positive x. Okay, so now the 2x, that's the, we have to write our two binomials, but here's my 2x, and that says I need to multiply by negative 1. Okay, so those are my outside terms, 2x times negative 1. And then here's my inside term. Again, we're focus in on this, and maybe make that a little clearer, OI. Okay, so OI. So this column here is my O, and this column here is my I. Okay, outside, inside. So 2x times negative 1, those are my outside terms. And in the inside term here, I have my x, but I multiply that 1 times 3. I multiply that 1 times 3, so plus 3. All right, so there we go. And now let's just check and see if we actually get this when we FOIL. So I have 2x times x is 2x squared, and then that's my first terms, outside terms, so I get minus 2x, inside terms, this gives me 3x, and then last, this gives me a negative 3, and that gives me 2x squared plus x minus 3. All right. So we'll do a couple more of these here. All right. So that's generally the approach. So let's just do 2 more of these. A couple more examples here, and hopefully it will kind of clear things up. Just keep in mind, we have to do a little more work with these here. So here, let's take a look at this one here. Which one do I want to do? So let's take a look at this one here. 2x squared plus x minus 15. All right. Again, my leading coefficient is not 1. It's 2. So we're going to take this term, keeping in mind that will give us our outside and inside terms when we FOIL. So I'll list. So here's 2x squared. Let's find all the factors for 2x squared. Well, 2x and x. And then I'll take my negative 15, and we'll list all those terms. So negative 15. So here we go. We have a negative 1 and a 15, or we have 1 and negative 15. We have negative 3 and 5, or we have 3 and negative 5. All right, so those, and I believe that's it. So here, so we just have to check a couple of things. Well, taking this here times that give me a positive 1, because that's one I want, a positive 1 there. Well, let's see here. So I can take 2x times a negative 1. I can multiply those two together, and then I can multiply x times 15 plus x times 15. Well, that's going to give me a negative 2x plus 15x, which equals 13x. So that's not going to do it. All right, that won't do it. Well, let me try this here. So maybe I'll take 2x and I'll multiply it by 15, and then take x and multiply it by negative 1. Okay, well, here, let's see if that does it. 2x times 15 plus x times negative 1. So that gives me 30x minus x. 30x minus x, that gives me 29x. That's not going to do it. I'm still looking for a positive x, a positive 1. Okay, that right there. I'm still looking for a positive 1. Well, that didn't do it. All right, so now I'll move on to the other one here. So I can check this as well. So we move on to the next pair of factors. So let me just erase that. So let's try this one here. All right. So I can take 2x and multiply it by 1. So 2x times 1, and then x times negative 15 plus x times negative 15. So I have 2x minus 15x. That gives me negative 13x. That doesn't do it. Okay. That doesn't do it. Again, I'm looking for x. Or I can do this. I can take 2x, multiply it by negative 15, and x times 1. Okay, so let's see here. 2x times negative 15 plus x times 1. Well, that gives me minus 30x plus x. That equals negative 29x. That doesn't do it. So that pair of factors is not going to do it for me. Again, I'm looking for a negative 1, so I'll just erase this. Okay, so we'll just move on to the next pair of factors here. All right, so I can take 2x times a negative 3. Okay, and then let's see here. So 2x times a negative 3, and then x times 5. So plus x times 5. Well, that gives me negative 6x plus 5x. That equals negative x. Okay, close, but not close enough. I'm looking for a positive x. All right, so that didn't do it. All right, so, and then, so maybe I'll just try this here. So maybe I'll take 2x times 5, and then x times negative 3. Okay, so here, let's see here. So 2x times 5 plus x times minus 3. Okay, so this gives me 10x minus 3x gives me 7x. Well, that didn't do it. All right, So no combination with that one there. Okay, so the last one's here. Alright, so I'm going to take that and multiply it by that. Let's see here what we get. Again, we're looking for a positive x. So I can take 2x times 3, and then I can take x times negative 5. So this gives me 6x minus 5x, which gives me x. Aha! Okay, finally got that 1x after all of that. Okay, and after a while you get good at this. You take a look at the tables and you can kind of spot out exactly what it is you need to do. So again, let's keep in mind that this is outside and inside. Okay, out and in. So I have to take 2x outside and 10 times 3, and then the inside is x, and I have to multiply that by negative 5. Okay, so that's what it shows. Alright, so again, that's why, I said keep in mind that this is out in. Okay, so out in, outside, inside. So and now we can verify. So let's just go ahead and do this. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times a positive 3, that's plus 6x. And then negative 5 times x is minus 5x, and then negative 5 times a positive 3 is negative 15. And so this is going to be 2x squared plus x minus 15. And that's what we wanted. So that checked out as well. Okay, and then again, maybe just one more example here, and then we'll call it a day. And after you practice these type of problems often enough, they become second nature. They're not so bad. Just a little more work here. And so let's take a look at the last problem. 3x squared plus 10x plus 8. So again, I'm going to take my 3x squared term and write my factor table for that. 3x squared. 3x and x. And again, keep in mind, so this is out in. Out in. Alright. 3x squared. And then I'll take my positive 8 and I'll write my factor table for that. So now again, I have a positive, and this tells me that both factors have to be positive, because okay, so I either have 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. So let's see here. So let's see here how I can get 10. Alright, well, to kind of expedite this, I see right away, and you can go ahead and go through it, but I see right away if I take that pair and that pair, specifically if I take 3x and I multiply it by 2 and add to that x times 4, I'm going to get 10x. So I have 3x times 2 plus x times 4. That will give me 6x plus 4x, and that will give me 10x. Okay? And so there. So when I factor this, then this is going to be, this will factor 3x. Again, my outside 2, and then inside is x, and that gets multiplied by 4, and both terms are positive. All right. So there, and you can FOIL and check. So the 3x times x is 3x squared, and then that's first terms. Outside 3x times 2 is 6x. Inside, that's plus 4x, and then last 4 times 2 is 8, and that will give you 3x squared plus 10x plus 8. Okay, so with that then, finish up the exercises, and there you'll be doing problems 16 through 18. So review the videos when you do these problems, or those 3 problems, and hopefully that will help.